evening, baseball fans, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We've got Alden K, we've got Ricky K, and we've got Mike Patt here this evening to talk all things baseball with you. We are starting it off with some firings, actually. 2 major league managers fired over the past week. It's amazing. We were only live a week ago, and that's all happened since then. We're going to talk about who's gone, what it means for those teams. We also have the latest and greatest in the Rafael Devers drama, the drama that just never seems to go away for the Red Sox. We're going to talk about what is going on there. Of course, it's Tuesday night, so we've got plenty of live baseball going on, so we have to give you our score updates throughout the week, and we're going to look at who's hot and who's not, which teams are looking good, which teams are on rolls, and which teams are a little bit cold. Maybe they need a pick-me-up. Maybe they need to get something needs to happen to get some momentum going. We're going to take a look at that, as well as our upcoming series to watch. Of course, there's always some great series going, so we're going to look ahead to this upcoming weekend and see what is on the docket and what series pique our interest. We also jump into the minor leagues. We have to take a look and see the latest and greatest in minor league baseball. And of course, college sports, women's softball. We have the tournament, the postseason tournament regionals have been set. The teams have been seeded. The bracket is out. We are going to take a look at some of the highlights, some of our teams that we are focusing on, including I guess we could call them a friend of the show at this point. We're going to talk about them as well. And of course, check in baseball as well with our highlight teams. And of course, end with Around the Diamond with whatever topic is burning in our minds at the moment. We've got all that and more coming up on the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, direct feed for all that is sports. We're going to hear a quick word about our sponsors, and we'll get right to it.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clinking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the iSports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Once again, shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, jerky that's on a whole nother planet. Go to planetjerky.net to get yours today. Also, Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but promotes and donates to mental health research. So head on to their site and use code IESR to get 15% off of their gym wear. And of course, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, custom wax stamps, perfect for your special occasion. Check them out on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps. And if you're a big fan of the show, please be sure to follow us on X. You can follow the show at BP Bulletin_IESR. You can follow Ricky at Rickinator555. You can follow Alden at the AZTRL, and you can follow yours truly at Let's Wine_IESR. So guys, let's get right to it. First, we've got a couple of comments. We've got Ralph Khalees jumping in the chat. Good evening, sir. A topic that we're going to talk about in just a second there with Pete Rose. And an interesting question, your thought on players consecutive reaching base streaks, positive or a distraction? I don't know. Do you guys want to take 15 seconds to give a thought on that question? Ralph always with the thought-provoking questions to start the show here. Ricky, what do you think?
I don't really see the distraction behind it because we haven't really hyped that up the way we do Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak. I think he's referencing Kyle Schwarber has like a 48-game on base streak or something like that, which considering he's a home run kind of guy, that's pretty impressive. I know Judge, I think, has done like a 30-gamer here or there. I don't really see the distraction because you're walking. I think hit streaks can be distracting. I think the one I can remember the most was like Luis Castillo with the Marlins. I think it was like Jimmy Rollins. I think with the Phillies had like a 30+, but it's the only ones I can remember.
Yep, and you did call it. He is talking about Schwarber, so you did call that one, Ricky. Alden, what do you think? Positive, distraction, shrug?
Yeah, it's definitely not really a distraction. We don't really see it a lot nowadays because there's so many different pitches in today's game. It's not like back then where, we saw so many players have consecutive hitting streaks, or walks, this and that. So we don't see it as much anymore. So it's actually nice to see it now. And there have been a lot of players this season who have had consecutive on base percentage. I can't think of the player off the top of my head, but there was one recently in the NL West who just crossed 28 games on base percentage. I think it was Tatis or Corbin maybe or something like that. So, but yeah, we don't see it a lot anymore nowadays. So I don't consider it distracting. Um, and matter of fact, it's a lot harder to do it now because of the amount of pitches and how fast pitchers throw the ball now. So if anything, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely. On base streaks, they don't really phase me, but a hit streak I could see. I could see a really long hitting streak getting to be a distraction at some point. But I mean, Schwarber, 40 game on base streak, great for him. Keep it going. Absolutely, 100%. So guys, let's get right to it. And we've got a lot of news really to talk about. And we're gonna start chronologically. Last Thursday, the Pittsburgh Pirates there fired their manager, Derek Shelton, following a 12-26 start to the season. Ricky, we'll start with you. What do you think? Good move, bad move, too soon, right on time? What are your thoughts?
I think it's right on time. I kind of feel for Derek Shelton in a way, and we'll kind of get into it the other manager later. I don't think it's really a Derek Shelton thing. I think it's really just the Pirates as a whole are a mess. And they've never really developed any hitting. You think about the Henry Davis pick that just has not panned out, the number one pick a couple of years ago. They had a great opportunity to spend this offseason with Paul Skeens on an O'Neill Cruz making combined $1.5 million, and they elect not to. And you have guys like Skeens and Keller, Jared Jones, who's hurt, but Bubba Chandler's on the way, and you don't invest in that. That to me is an ownership issue. I could blame Ben Cherington because look, you could also look at Brian Reynolds, who got 80 million from the Pirates, and he's not hitting right now. And that's really the one guy they gave money to. So until the Pirates actually decide to spend, and they don't have to spend that much. I mean, look at the NL Central. It's not exactly a murderer's row of teams. So I don't yet not take advantage of this window. Now the great Don Kelly, the former Tiger, is the manager, but I don't really see the manager necessarily changing anything. I think it has to be a whole philosophy change with the Pirates and actually developing hitters to match the amount of arms they have because there's talent there. Just get some bats and you could have a shot in the division. So to me, Derek Shelton's just the fall guy for ownership and a front office that hasn't been able to make solid draft picks and solid scouting over the last few years.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, yeah, they nailed the Skeens pick, but I mean, that's like saying, oh yeah, the Nationals scored the Strasburg pick. Well, I mean, yeah, it was kind of the obvious pick, really, at the end of the day. Alden, what are your thoughts on this one?
I just see this as an add-on to Pittsburgh's misery of history. I mean, yeah, 6 years with the Pirates, never went to the playoffs. He never finished as a manager higher than fourth place in their division. But we've seen years like that in the Pirates' history. They haven't won. The last time they went to the World Series was in '79. They haven't been to a wild card since 2015. So when you look at what the Pirates haven't done lately, Derek Shelton is just another add-on to it. And heck, even Paul Skeens came out after the firing and said that their record was 12-26. Someone was going to get blamed for it. So it's almost like the players in that clubhouse like expected him to get fired at some point. And when you hear your best player make comments like that, basically saying that yeah, he was going to be the guy that took the fall for it, or basically got blamed for it. It's almost like he was kind of aiming something towards the organization itself for not putting much effort into making the team a little bit better. Their payroll is not that high. They don't play in that tough of a division. They play in a tough NL conference though. So if they were to spend money, at least competing for the World Series or anything like that, it's a very tough NL conference. So it would take a lot, but not too much spending. There's a lot of contenders that don't have high payroll. So for me, it's just it doesn't seem like their organization's really trying right now. And Derek Shelton, while he didn't do much as the manager there, it's just another add-on of what Pittsburgh has not done in recent years. So to me, I think that this is the right time to do it. I mean, they waited 6 or like 5.5 years to do it at this point, and it didn't work out. But I don't think he's fully the guy to blame. Think that I do think that this is the right decision because 5.5 years hasn't ever came close to it. So, but overall, I think that he was just going to be another add-on to what Pittsburgh hasn't done lately, and that's how it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, after that length of time to not win anything, to not finish higher than fourth in division, as you mentioned, even if it's a fundamental issue with the organization, it was either going to be his fault, he was the cause, or he was going to be the scapegoat for the cause. It was going to be one of the two at the end of the day. And not to divert too wildly in topics, not long after that, this past weekend, we had another firing with the Colorado Rockies firing their manager Bud Black after a 7:33 start. This coming just a few days after the organization gave him a vote of confidence, and some of the players did as well. So this one definitely an interesting move here, but I would say equally not surprising. But Alden, we'll start with you. What did you think about this firing?
I haven't seen Rockies fans this happy since I think 2017 when they faced us in the wild card and the Diamondbacks absolutely demolished them. So I think that's the last time I saw them happy until this news came out. But yeah, overall, this is kind of similar to the Pirates situation, but even worse. I mean, Bud Black, Rockies manager since 2017, didn't get farther than the NLDS. So and while I do blame Bud Black for a little bit for the Rockies mess, it's similar to the Pirates. Rockies organization, I mean, the highest contract that they've given out recently was to a guy who continues to stay hurt in Chris Bryant. That's the biggest contract that comes to mind when you think of the Rockies, and in a joking fashion, is that this team doesn't really tend to spend much money. They get rid of their talent when they're not competing. We saw with Arenado, and we're probably going to see it with the stars that they have right now. Like they have young talent, but they just don't. And you can't these days. You have to invest money in free agency as well. You can develop in the farm system, but there's also got to be times where they spend big, and when they do spend big, it doesn't work out. So we'll see how they do with their young talent. But obviously, this move was very necessary after starting 7-33, which is a worse 40 game mark than the White Sox, who had a historically bad year last season. So when you beat the White Sox in that category, a change needs to be made. And this was the right move. It took them long enough to do it because ever since, I believe, 2022, they have finished last place in the division in the NL West, which if you look at the NL West now, all of the teams are above 500. And then there's the Rockies currently as of right now. So, yeah, another Rockies season bites the dust. There's no coming back from this one, but at least they made a move that was necessary, and we'll see if they can build off on that for once. But so far from what I'm seeing, it's similar to the Pirates, just another add-on to misery that's been going on in their recent years.
Yeah, for sure. And then to add on to the potential of a historically bad season, thanks to the rules of the MLB draft lottery, they will not get a top pick. They will only be able to pick, I believe it's either 9 or 10 at its max. Very similarly to the White Sox, had a historically bad season last year, but then due to the lottery, they are picking, I believe, 10th this year. So to add insult to injury on this potentially historically bad season, they don't even get the draft benefit from it coming next year. But Ricky, what are your thoughts? This was the right move, right?
I think if you gave Bud Black some truth serum, nobody ever likes to get fired, but I think even he was probably, as a baseball man and somebody that is well respected in the game, as a pitching coach, as a manager, actually had success in Colorado. I think he's kind of relieved because I can't imagine going through that amount of losing and being able to handle it all. And I don't know what it was because it was 2 days before he got fired. The GM comes out and says, we have the players to take care of this. They lose 20. I guess it was they lost 21-0 on Saturday, but then they fired Bud Black after they won the other day, which is like, but you won a game. Like you actually won something. All that hit on the head. They don't spend outside of Chris Bryant. Their pitching is a mess. They can't develop pitchers because the ballpark's horrible. I mean, right now you look at the Rockies and you wonder, okay, how do they win? You could at least see a path for the Pirates with the right amount of stuff. The Rockies, you have to scout 100% correct. And that's why you tend to appreciate what they did in 07 getting to the World Series, is because they hit on a lot of things. You're going to have to basically hit on like 80, 90% of things. And without that draft positioning next year, you're really going to have to hit and find some sleepers somewhere. And at least with the Pirates, you have the rotation as hope, and you have some things to hope. What do you have to hope for? Dollander? There's not that much. Like Ezekiel Tovar? What is there? Like, that's the problem ownership has in Colorado. I don't have a guy I can sell to my fans to come see every day. And that's going to be the bigger concern going forward. Even the White Sox kind of have this issue as well. Who's the player I'm going to get people to come to the park even when we're losing? Until they get that, they're going to be in this mess. It's like we said 2 weeks ago. I don't know how they get to 10 wins. I'm shocked they're at 7. That's really, I don't know if they're still going to get 10 wins by June 1st, but it's sad.
We'll see. We got 18 days. They got 18 days to get 3 more wins. We'll see if they can get to double digits. I mean, yeah, it's just tough because, we even talked about them in our divisional preview. I mean, the expectations were low, were so incredibly low. But even this start, I mean, that was just it's a rough start, and I think it's a culmination of, like we've discussed, the team just doesn't have that great amount of talent, and then also the fact that the rest of the National League West, even more so than we predicted, just decided, okay, we're all going to be above 500 and excellent. So, not to exasperate, but if I recall, they haven't even played in their division that much yet. So, I mean, it could get worse before it gets better, and I think the history could be on the table, very much so, for this team. And now we go to the gift that just seems to keep on. It's either the gift that keeps on giving, or it's like Groundhog Day around here, because we have more Rafael Devers drama for the Boston Red Sox. This news coming out just a few days ago. I believe it was over the weekend, with the team, with their starting first baseman getting hurt. And then Devers being asked in an interview to if he would take first base with the first baseman out. He had been DHing the whole season after Alex Bregman was brought in free agency and took over third. And then when asked about first base, he had some rather sour comments about that. So Ricky, take it away on this one. What do you do here? You're muted, sir.
Rafael Devers right now is, you have a guy that wants to be, he wants everything that he wants, and it's not going to happen that way. I get he's upset that they took his third base job away because Alex Cora got his buddy at Alex Bregman that nobody expected. But when you have a teammate that not only gets hurt but gets a major injury like that, you need to do everything you can for your team. That's just being a bad teammate. He made a snarky comment. Well, if an outfielder gets hurt, are they going to expect me to play the outfield? Tough luck. At least try. Because if you play bad in the field, nobody's going to blame you. They're going to blame the situation. Nick Sogard is playing first base for the Red Sox today. I don't think anybody outside of Worcester, Mass knows who Nick Sogard is. Like, that's how bad it is right now for the Red Sox at first base. You can make 4 errors. Doesn't matter. Just hit. And I like what Steve Phillips today said on LB Network Radio. If I'm the manager, I put him in at first base, and if he decides not to play, I suspend him. Like, make him now the guy that people, because nobody feels sympathy for a guy making $30 million a year. You're the face of the franchise. Figure it out, get over it, or ask for a trade.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that was my thought, is at what point do you cut your losses and figure out how to move on from the guy? Like, I don't even know if the relationship is salvageable at this point, given everything that's gone on this offseason. But Alden, what are your thoughts?
I just think he's well, first off, we don't, and not just in baseball, but any sport pretty much that involves teams and franchises and this and that. We don't play in sports days anymore where it's like, okay, yeah, just shut up and go play ball. So yeah, $30 million a year. You're playing DH, which honestly, and one of the comments that I also read about was he was basically upset that the Red Sox were not living up to their word of him staying at DH this season. This season. Well, first off, if I remember correctly, he was actually mad that they were going to put him at DH first. Like on top of that, he wanted to play third base, and now that uh, Casas gets hurt at first, he's now mad that they're that about going to first. So if you were to play first base, and if they tell you to go back to DH solely, or Bregman gets hurt, you go back to third, this and that, are you going to get mad at that too? So I feel like Devers is kind of being an idiot about it, contradicting himself over and over again in certain ways, and uh, unfortunately, and it's like with the money, with the contract that you have, with the interest that other teams have in you, what really gives him a right to really try to make his own decisions around the team? He, the Red Sox, currently right now, if I'm in their position, it seems like it's just getting worse too. It's not getting better. So, trade deadline when that comes. And honestly, I feel like in a certain way, and we'll find out come the trade deadline, but I feel like in a certain way, this is decreasing his trade value. So if I were the Red Sox, I would, if it gets any worse than it already is, I would start looking for trade packages right now if they can't get it figured out. Because, and as a fan of a team who's in the NL, I can see him getting traded to a National League team at some point to make it even tougher. So there's that too. But if this gets any worse, no team is going to want him. They don't want a guy who is going to be terrible in the clubhouse, uh, be a cancer with the teammates or anything like that. They're not going to want that. So the Red Sox, I think that if it does get any worse, he needs to get shipped out of there. But and at this point right now, I don't see how it gets any worse. So that's where I'm at.
The shame of it is that he found his bat. His bat's picked up a lot since his rough start to the season, and I feel like if he had just kept his mouth shut, we would like you can be upset with the organization all you want, but your bat's picked up. People have kind of forgotten about the drama. Just shush. Just don't create the drama. Give a canned response. Nobody cares. But yeah, I don't know. Trade him to Colorado. That'll show him. Trade him to the black hole of the MLB right now. And then before we go on a break, we've got one more topic to get to. News that actually, I believe, just broke today. The Pete Rose ban has officially been lifted. I know we talked about this one, or maybe it was around the diamond discussion that somebody made a few weeks back, but the ban has officially been lifted now. Of course, after Pete Rose has passed on. So Alden, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, while it is better late than never, this one was a little bit too late. I think it's kind of messed up, to be honest. They also lifted the ban from one of the players that was involved in the White Sox scandal back in 1917 as well. So, and MLB came out and said that the ban can be taken away basically upon the player's death. So if I'm reading this right, we're gonna have to wait until Barry Bonds passes away for him to be in the Hall of Fame. Same thing with other guys as well that got caught for steroids or whatever, and they're not in the Hall of Fame. Alex Rodriguez too. So it's like I, I while he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, not too much thought on this, but simply by the fact that they waited till he died and they're gonna wait until all these other players die too. It's kind of messed up, but uh, at least I guess at least they're doing it right now. But kind of messed up on Rob Manfred's part. But Pete Rose, I guess he'll finally be in the Hall of Fame. So after a bunch of years of people saying that he deserves it, a bunch of ranting about it, and all these other players as well, he's finally going to be in the Hall of Fame. But yeah, it kind of sucks that he's not going to be around to see it, but it is what it is.
I mean, I wonder if that's in the MLB rule book. Oh, once you die, your ban can be lifted. We'll go ahead and establish that rule. That's a weird one. Ricky, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm with Alden. It's like baseball's version of the death penalty, and it doesn't make any sense, because you think of it this way: gambling on baseball has more of a worse integrity effect than taking steroids. So I don't mind the writers getting a chance if they want to vote for Pete Rose or Shoeless Joe or whatever. That's up to the writers and what they want to do. And Pete Rose is going to get honored by the Reds tomorrow night, which I think is one of the only good things to come from this. But Alden's right. So the steroid guys are treated like pariahs in the sport, and now we're gonna wait till they're dead to actually recognize how great they are, instead of trying to erase Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and Alex Rodriguez and all these guys that we never watched them exist. I've never gotten that. I think baseball's behind the times. It turned into a steroid rant, but Bud Selig's in the Hall of Fame, and the steroid people aren't in the Hall of Fame, which to me is ridiculous, because he's the commissioner over the steroid era.
Right.
I don't get this, and again, I don't know. Maybe it's because baseball now we got FanDuel and DraftKings and gambling. Everybody gambles on baseball now, obviously, except players and things like that. Those rules still exist, but maybe that was the case. Maybe now that gambling, we all gamble on baseball, it's not as become this social.
Yeah, no, for sure, 100%. Anybody have any bets out, by the way, on any of the games tonight? Since we're talking about gambling on baseball, anybody have any feelers out there?
Not old enough.
That's right. I forgot. My apologies, sir. Man, it just makes me feel old every time. All right, we're going to go ahead and take our first break. When we come back, we're going to get into what's going on right now in baseball. Less dramatic news. Let's just get to the games here. Do not go away. You're listening to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports, exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We are on to the second half of our show, which of course now means we are at our live score update. Plenty of games going on tonight, although a couple of rainouts. Ricky, take it away. What's going on? Ricky, take it away. What live scores do we have?
All right, now I got you guys. Perfect. Okay, so right now I'll give you the one final. We have a couple of finals actually. We have the Guardians beating the Brewers 2-0. Logan Allen getting the win in that one. Jose Ramirez a home run, his 7th of the year. We got the Mets beating the Pirates 2-1. Brett Beatty a home run in the 7th inning. He's been on fire lately, his 5th of the year. So more doom for the Pirates. Mets have been unstoppable at home, so they're playing extremely well. Braves beat the Nationals 5-2. Drake Baldwin a 2-run homer, his 4th of the years. The Braves are now at 500, 21-21. We have a couple postponements. Twins and Orioles postponed, doubleheader tomorrow, and the Cardinals and Phillies have a doubleheader tomorrow. So both those hot teams will have to wait a little bit. Some bonus baseball in Detroit. Red Sox and Tigers are tied 6-6 in the 10th. David Hamilton, a 2-run game-tying homer in the 8th for Boston. Javi Baez, a 3-run shot for Detroit in the 6th. Rays scored 5 in the top of the 9th as they lead the Blue Jays 11-7 out in Toronto. That game in the 9th inning. Marlins lead the Cubs 4-2 in the bottom of the 7th. Connor Norby, a solo shot to give Miami the lead in the 7th inning. Rangers lead the Rockies 3-1. Josh Young, a 3-run homer in the 1st. All 4 runs in this game scored in the 1st inning. That game's in the 7th. Royals and Astros are tied 1-1 in the 7th. That's a good pitcher duel there. Framber Valdez throwing well for Houston. White Sox lead the Reds 1-0 in the bottom of the 5th. Edgar Quero, an RBI single in that one. Angels are underway. Zach Neto is on fire right now. It's his 6th of the year, a solo shot off of Dylan Cease. So 1-0 Angels in the 1st after the Taylor Ward grand slam last night off Robert Suarez. D-backs and Giants underway. Brandon Pfaadt and Robbie Ray in that matchup. We have the A's and Dodgers coming up tonight. Jeffrey Springs against Landon Knox, a rematch of the 1988 World Series. And the Yankees and Mariners are underway in Seattle. Brian Wu against Max Fried. Yankees have yet to lose a game this year that Max Fried pitches. We'll see if that streak holds as well tonight.
Yeah, I'm checking out that Astros Royals games. Framber Valdez almost threw 7 at just 68 pitches. Incredible start for him. Hopefully the bats can pick it up and help him get the win there. So now we're going to move on to looking back at this past week and take a look at who's hot and who's not, who's doing really well across the league, and who's maybe a little bit ice cold, who's maybe lost some momentum. So Alden, we're going to kick off this segment with you. Who is your hot team for the week, and who is your not team for the week?
Yeah, so for my hot team, I'm going to criticize myself a little bit because, well, I can't speak for you two, but for me, I picked this team to finish last in their division this season. But as of lately, St. Louis has been killing it lately with a 9-game win streak so far. When I talked about this team when we gave our division predictions, one thing I stated was I wasn't really so sure about who was going to step up regarding, who was really going to lead the team, who was going to be the main focal point of them getting wins, this and that. There was a point where their closing pitcher was rumored to be traded before the season even started, and he's been doing decent so far. So St. Louis, 9 games in a row, a lot of them 2 of them were against the Mets, and then the rest of them were against teams that, aren't really doing so hot right now. But 9 games in baseball is pretty impressive, and yesterday they beat the Phillies as well in a pretty close game as well, and they're taking on the Phillies and for the next 2 games, and then they got the Royals and Tigers. So we'll see if they can extend their win streak or if they can keep on winning those 2 series. And they're 1 game behind the Cubs now for the NL Central lead. So the fact that all 3 of us picked them last, and the fact that they could be competing for a wild card spot this season is why I really wanted to point them out. But yeah, very impressive. 9 games in a row so far. That's the longest in baseball right now. So we'll see how long that goes, and we'll see if they can actually keep it going and compete for a wild card spot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe we're just jinxes and like we reverse jinx teams as well. So perhaps if you're listeners of the show and you hear our predictions, maybe bet the opposite and see how that works out for you. That seems to be doing pretty well so far. Ricky, let's kick it over to you. Who is your hot team and who is your not team?
So my hot team, I'm going to go to the American League. I'm going to go with the other team on the red hot win streak, and that is the Minnesota Twins. I think early in this year, I was the one that mistakenly said Rocco Baldelli is going to get fired, and it turns out maybe the Twins might have heard that and tried to actually play for their manager. It's been good to see the Twins actually find a way to get it done in this division and make the AL Central really outside of the White Sox, really one of the more competitive divisions when you consider Detroit's playing well, Cleveland's playing well, Kansas City had about a 6-7 game win streak until this weekend in Boston. But Duran's a really good closer. You got Joe Ryan in there in the mix, and Ober's in the mix. Pablo Lopez, of course, is still there. I think the return of Royce Lewis, I think, has really helped the Twins as well. I mean, we all know how good of a player Lewis can be, especially the home run hitter at the middle of the lineup. So I'm looking at the Twins right now. This is a team, again, that ended last year so poorly, and they got off to that slow start. It led our Bold North breakdown guy to really question how good this team can be. But Byron Buxton's healthy. He's got 9 homers. And Trevor Larnach's another guy to monitor as well. He's got 6 so far. So the Twins maybe have some staying power. We'll see when these central teams play each other. But Minnesota, it's good to see them riding the ship and starting to play some good baseball.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Minnesota. I'm just happy that they got rained out tonight because I didn't need the O's to get whooped tonight in addition to the Nationals losing. For my hot team, I am going to actually go with the Phillies for this one. Yes, they're running up against St. Louis. And they did lose yesterday, but they've actually won their last 5 series and against not bad teams. They beat the Cubs 2 out of 3. They beat the Diamondbacks 2 out of 3. Sorry, Alden. They swept the Rays, and then they took 2 of 3 from the Guardians. So this is a team that for a while they're kind of around like the 20 to 30 game mark, maybe into the early 30s. They weren't looking. They had kind of plateaued, but now it seems like they're coming back into their own, and they're not letting the Mets run away with that division. Only a 2.5 game gap between the Mets and the Phillies, so they are still charging strong there for sure. And I'm going to go with a not team as well here. I'm going to highlight the Brewers, actually. A team that all of us thought was going to do very well here, but they've actually lost 5 of their last 7 series. It's been a strange season for them because they lost their first 4 games, including that very infamous torpedo bat game against the Yankees, the second game of the season where the Yankees scored 20 runs on them. So they lost their first 4. Then they went 12-6 in their next 18 games. And now they've gone 8-13 in their last 21 games. So very much a roller coaster season for the Brewers there. Do you guys, Alden, we'll go back to you really quick. Do you want to highlight a cold team right now?
Without bashing them too much, I mean, yeah, obviously you brought up the Nationals a little bit earlier. They have lost 7 games in a row. I think including today. So yeah, being swept by St. Louis, who I talked about earlier, and now they've lost, I believe, the first 2 games against the Braves. So, but those two teams, I mean, the Nationals, they just caught them at the wrong time. I think the Braves, after having that terrible start, they have been bouncing back a little bit. Same thing with obviously St. Louis on their win streak of 9 games now. But, the Nationals, I said that their season was going to depend on their pitching, and in their 7-game losing streak, that has probably been their biggest issue so far. So, yeah, overall, the Nationals, 7 losses in a row. I mean, that's ice cold right there. After competing with a lot of good teams earlier on in the year as well, you would think that they would have built off of that, but feels like they've kind of came back to what people were expecting, I guess, this season. But we'll see if they can get something going.
You're right. I can't fault any of that analysis. That's accurate. By the way, fun fact, for the Nationals Orioles series coming up this upcoming weekend, tickets are currently going for about $12. So if any of you guys happen to be headed to Baltimore this weekend, I know neither of you are, but you could go to an O's game at Camden Yards against the Nationals for about $12. Ricky, you got a not team for us?
Yeah, I know they're winning tonight, which and Junior Caminero getting a grand slam has kind of helped with that. But I'm gonna go with Tampa Bay. I feel like they could be, I think, a little bit better. They did get swept by the Phillies last week, as you mentioned. And to your Phillies point, Phillies have 17 losses. Aaron Nola has 6 of them. So imagine if Aaron Nola actually could win a couple games, really where they would be at. They get swept by the Rays. They did beat the Brewers 2 out of 3, but still, I'm kind of surprised the Rays are where they are, under 500 at 18-22. I know they've kind of been helped with the ballpark, and they're playing a red-hot Blue Jay team right now and trying to get advantage of them, but especially in the American League, a -9 run differential, not what you want to see, especially in a hitter-friendly ballpark like Steinbrenner Field. I know it's not Sacramento, but it's right there. So I'm going to throw Tampa Bay in the mix there. The other one's the Giants. Giants have kind of faded a little bit, and you look at San Francisco, they got swept in Minnesota and losing last night to Corbin Carroll and the Diamondbacks. They've lost 4 straight by a run apiece. And I think you got to see how they handle these 1-run games. They kind of won a lot of them early. You wonder now if they're regressing to the mean. I think right now they're 7-7 in 1-run games. That bullpen, that closer spot is a little bit shaky coming in. We'll see if they kind of rectify that in the division. But keep an eye on San Francisco, because after that red hot start, they kind of come back down to earth a little bit.
I noticed that one too, and that's not a division where you want to come back down to earth, because come back down to earth lands you in 4th place. I fear if you come back down a little bit too hard there. Now let's jump ahead to this upcoming weekend. I was looking down the schedule, guys, and maybe you noticed this too. A lot of very regionally centered matchups coming ahead for us this weekend. But Ricky, we'll start with you. What is your series to watch?
All right, so I guess I'll be the homer for this one because I wondered if you two were going to steal it. Let's just talk Subway Series, because I know there's a lot of great rivalries this week, and I could throw Detroit and Toronto just for the heck of it because the Tigers are playing well and the Blue Jays are playing well, but it's Mets-Yankees. It's Juan Soto's return to Yankee Stadium, especially considering if the Knicks lose tomorrow night, you'll have Subway Series and Game 6 at the Garden between Knicks-Celtics. If that does happen, New York might just go crazy, but that's, I think, going to be the fun storylines. What does Soto do? He's the guy who loves the big stage. He loves being the enemy. He's not been the guy who's been great with the home runs of late, but I think he's helped Lindor. He's helped Alonso. And the Mets having Tyler McGill and Griffin Canning going in this series. They don't have Senga, I don't think, going in this series, at least as of right now, who's pitching tonight. So we'll see if that kind of changes over the course of this weekend. And on the Yankees side, I think it's give me a chance to really prove something to them. Carlos Rodon, they could potentially have Rodon, Schmidt, and Fried, depending on how they want to line up the rotation. We're wondering if Boone will do that, but that could be a big test. Mets have actually owned the Yankees the last couple of years in the Subway Series. I think it's maybe some Mendoza beating his former protege thing, so you always have that thrown in the mix. Yankees did take a big injury yesterday. Oswaldo Cabrera fracturing his ankle. That was a really scary moment in Seattle last night. Glad he's doing okay, at least all things considering, and in good spirits. Yankees activated DJ LeMahieu. We'll see how long he stays healthy. So they do have a third base issue. But the Yankees are playing pretty well. They took 2 of 3 in Sacramento. They took 2 of 3 from San Diego. Trying to take at least the first 2 from Seattle tonight. So they're getting the job done. Aaron Judge, people are still pitching to him. Why, I don't know. But I think on the Mets side, going to be fun to watch this weekend. Brett Baty getting hot, number one for him. And for the Yankees, Trent Grisham. Trent Grisham's got 12 home runs, and he didn't even play hardly last year for some strange reason. It's been amazing to see what Grisham can do with the bat, and him emerging at the top of this lineup has been huge to get Aaron Judge some pitches to hit. So should be a fun one out in the Bronx this weekend.
I don't know why anybody's still pitching to Aaron Judge either. That's a strange one to me. Alden, what is your series to watch?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Cardinals and Royals, Missouri Regional Series here. These are two teams that have been hot lately. I talked about last week how the Royals won like 15 games out of their last 20 at one point, and St. Louis with the 9-game win streak. I think that this will be the series to watch right here. Two teams in the Central, and two teams that are competing in a not so competitive division right here. A lot of two of these teams, the bats have been hot lately, so I could see this definitely being a little bit of a shootout in this series as far as games go. The pitching, of course, the Royals pitching as well. I think that's really going to determine who wins the series. Is just which pitching crew is a lot better. But also, I do like the Astros and Rangers. I know that's probably something that people might overlook because both teams have had their struggles this season. But Texas, after starting kind of in the middle of the pack, they've won their last 3 games, and they're at home too. And I feel like ever since the 2023 CS, the Astros and Rangers, the hatred that they have for each other continues to get even worse. So, as far as that goes, and of course with they're currently like very close with each other in the division standings right now. So, I know it's like 3rd, 4th place, but we'll see if they can get one over each other and then hopefully get back into the division because Seattle has lost 4 games in a row. So this would be a good opportunity for either the Astros or the Rangers to really get back in the division here. And of course, the Athletics, they've been doing better than I thought they would. So we'll see if they can catch up to them as well. But this series right here between them, it's a good opportunity to get back in the division. That's why I think that this is an upcoming series to watch as well with Seattle. After Seattle started off pretty good, they have lost their last 4. So good opportunity here for either the Astros or the Rangers, and along with the Cardinals and Royals to really stand out for this upcoming weekend.
Absolutely. And Seattle going to San Diego this weekend as well. So, definitely an opportunity for some of these teams in the West to continue to close that gap. And I'm actually going to stay in the West. I keep looking up and down this list, and this one just keeps standing out to me, the Athletics and the Giants. This is a good one. This Athletics team, I think, continues to surprise a lot of people with how competitive they've been. They're only a game and a half back in the division, despite having a negative run differential and a losing record at home. So, in spite some of their inconsistencies early on, they're still very much in the discussion. Going up against the San Francisco team that we discussed has been struggling a little bit over the past week, and a team that really needs to do well to keep pace in a very competitive division. So I like that matchup. I also really like the pitching matchup on Friday. JP Sears versus Logan Webb, 2 guys with sub-3 ERAs. That's going to be a really good matchup. And then the A's also have Luis Severino going in game 2 as well. So some good pitching to expect in this series. And I think this could be a key one for both teams, given all the stuff that's going on around them in their divisions. Before we jump on our second break, we're going to quick jump to the minor leagues now. And Alden, I'm going to start with you because you're highlighting a player who I really like. So, of course, I'm going to show a little bit of favoritism here and give you the first lead here. So, Alden, take it away. Who is your minor league spotlight?
Yeah, I'm gonna go for over to Norfolk and talk about Samuel Basello a little bit. He hit 2 home runs today, so he's up to, I believe, 6 now on the year, maybe 5. So I know the batting average he has isn't the best; it's 230, but he has the ability, and his OPS though currently right now is 765, and I believe after today it went up to around the 80 range, maybe close to the 90s. So with just by today's game too, so he's going to be one of those catchers. I know whenever the Orioles call him up, it's going to be hard to really give him playing time with Adley Rutschman behind the plate, obviously, but with the batting average that he has as a backup, that could be serviceable enough for the Orioles as well. The Orioles have really built their team a lot, especially hitting wise, through the farm system in recent years, which is why these past few years they've been able to do what they do. So another add-on to the Orioles, this could be a good opportunity for, as a backup catcher, to really develop well behind just putting the ball in play, being able to get on base as well, which his on base percentage isn't the best either. But I think with the games that we've been seeing a little bit lately, he's developing pretty well so far. And obviously with Rutschman behind the plate, it is going to be tough. But I think as a backup, he could be very serviceable for the Orioles. It just depends on who they would replace him with, especially because the Orioles, they could really use it right now. Their pitching continues to give up runs. So the best that they can really throw back at this point is getting as much offensive talent that they can on their team right now. So I think that eventually when he does get the call up, that could be very useful for the Orioles.
Yeah, it's long been a topic of discussion in Baltimore, at least the last couple of years, how Basayo is going to fit in to this lineup and around all these pieces that they already have in place. Obviously, with his power, he can be serviceable as a DH. He's gotten reps at both AA and AAA, I believe, at first base as well. So he's going to be some type of utility, something. It's just going to be interesting to see how it all fits together. Ricky, kicking it over to you. Who is your minor league spotlight?
So we're going to go keeping it local here with the Mets. Their AA team, the Binghamton Rumble Ponies, had a 7th-round pick from 2022, Jonah Tong, get to start over the weekend. And he, of course, was a doubleheader, so they only played 7 innings, but still, the Binghamton Mets combined for a perfect game. Now, we have seen 8 no-hitters in minor league baseball this year, but this was the first perfect game, and Jonah Tong was fantastic. 6 2/3 innings, of course, 1 out short. His manager, of course, Mike, you and I might remember him, Reed Brignac is the manager in AA, former utility infielder. Tong threw 99 pitches, so this wasn't the whole get 70 pitches and get out kind of thing. I kind of understand why you went with a minor leaguer throw over 100 pitches to try to get a perfect game. Tong has been really good. He's got 16.4 strikeouts per 9 this year. He leads all the Eastern League in strikeouts. His ERA is about 2.5. And you look at this net future of their pitching staff, and you've got Blade Tidwell, who made his debut a couple weeks ago. Brandon Sproat, the pitcher. Everybody likes it. We could see him in the middle of this season in the big leagues. And now Tong in AA, starting to see some good things. So congrats to Jonah Tong for being a part of a perfect game over the weekend.
Absolutely. And one more time with that minor league team name. One more time.
The Binghamton Rumble Ponies.
The Binghamton Rumble Ponies.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right. I'll be really quick because it's interesting. Most of the time when we do these minor league spotlights, we're talking about young guys 29 and over. We never talk about anybody who's 35 years old, let alone 45. But I have to just talk about this headline here. A name that we all know, Rich Hill. Today, actually, just earlier today, signed a minor league deal with the Kansas City Royals. So he's going to appear at their spring training facility in Arizona. So there you go, Alden. He'll be near you. Before joining their AAA affiliate in Omaha. And I can only imagine how strange that is going to be for Rich to be facing guys who are quite literally half of his age. So, but Rich Hill was a free agent. I think a lot of people were wondering, especially at his age, was he going to, give it another season or just call it a deal? He has not. He is going to try to give it a go. It looks like with the Kansas City Royals and maybe give them some back end rotation option should they need it down the stretch of the season. We are going to take our second and final commercial break. When we come back, we're jumping into the college ranks as per usual. Do not go away. You're listening to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, Wisconsin sports fans? I'm Dan, diehard Baholic, host of the Wisconsin Whistle. Check us out every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. We're talking Green Bay Packers, Milwaukee Brewers, Milwaukee Bucks, Marquette basketball, Wisconsin football and basketball, and all Wisconsin sports. Don't miss us each week, Wednesdays, 6 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Sports fans, do you like teams that are tough, cities that are tougher, and fan bases that are passionate about their teams? How about teams that are historic and stadiums that are iconic? Then you belong in Chicago, and you need to check out Chi-Town Weekly. Join me, Adam Kernan, every week as we keep up with all things Chicago sports. Bears, Bulls, Blackhawks, Cubs, White Sox. We'll cover them all, plus more. The Windy City is always buzzing, and we'll keep you up on all the big games and major stories. So tune in to Chi-Town Weekly every week right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. It is time to talk college baseball and softball. And we're going to start with softball because the postseason tournament is upon us. This past Sunday was officially Selection Sunday, where the 64 teams were selected for the tournament and divided into their regions. Quick summary for those of you who may not be familiar with how it works. Basically, there's a 64-team field selected by a committee. Think college basketball, just on a softball field. And they're divided up into 16 regions. They rank the top 16 teams, and each of those 16 teams hosts a region, and then it is double elimination. So each team, basically, they play the games until 3 of the 4 teams loses twice, and the last team standing moves on to the super regional. So right now, we have 16 different regions that will duke it out. And Ricky, we're going to start with you. Who is your highlight for this tournament?
Well, I think you look at this tournament very wide open. There's a lot of parity in the sport right now. I think you also had the weird thing this weekend of co-SEC champions with Texas A&M and Oklahoma. I know Tornado Takeover was talking about it before we hopped on here, and there's no perfect solution. You never have to have co-champions, but you look at the softball and you look at all these top seeds, and most of them are in the SEC, as we talked about. So the SEC continues to reign dominance over the sport. There's a couple matchups, though, I do like. One is out in Knoxville. Of course, Tennessee's got Carolyn Pickens, the pitcher of the year. But the other matchup, 4 o'clock Friday on ESPNU, North Carolina and Ohio State. North Carolina has one of the better hitters in the country in Kat Rodriguez. She's hit .453 this year with 9 home runs. She's one of the better batting average hitters against Ohio State, who's one of the better power hitting teams in all college softball. So either of those teams, they're going to be a really tough matchup for Tennessee. So I think that's a fun one. The other fun regional is in Baton Rouge with LSU. LSU, of course, is the 10 seed, which usually is a good thing. I'm sure they wanted to be a top 8 and host a super. here's your consolation and maybe a detriment to them. They have to play Southeast Louisiana, who is a very good team in terms of speed and is not going to be afraid to play LSU. And you might have to play Nebraska and Jordy Ball, who's one of the better pitchers in the country. So to maybe get her in a regional, that's a little bit tricky. So that one I keep an eye on. Also, I think UCLA's path is going to be a little bit tricky too. 3 teams out west, and UCLA didn't exactly finish well, losing to Michigan in the Big Ten championship. So a lot of good regionals to watch. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of big seeds advance, but should be a fun weekend of college softball.
Absolutely, absolutely. Alden, let's kick it over to you. Who are you highlighting here in the regionals here?
So I do like the South Carolina regional and then the Los Angeles regional matchups with South Carolina taking on Elon as well, and then UCLA, Santa Barbara, and those 2 teams whoever wins those 2 regionals will go up against each other in the next. So potential we could see South Carolina and UCLA, 2 teams that were in the top 10. I think that would be a good matchup following, if assuming there is no upsets, and then of course for the other games, Arizona State taking on San Diego State, which the the softball for that actually upsetted Oklahoma State too. So we'll see if they can keep going on there. But yeah, overall, I do like those regionals. And then, of course, locally here in Arizona, we have U of A taking on Santa Clara, which, obviously we would assume Wildcats should win that, but upsets do happen. They are 13th, and then GCU, who had a 46-6 records, taking on Ole Miss. So GCU's had a far better season than all the other 2 teams as well, and then they'll be taking on the winner of the Arkansas regional, whoever wins in Arizona, which we have Arkansas and then Oklahoma State up in there too. So yeah, some pretty good matchups. I could see some upsets in all 4 of those regionals, and I think that those 4 can set up some good matchups for the following matchups that we can see.
Yeah, for sure, 100%. I'm jumping down to the Tuscaloosa region for a couple of reasons. First of all, notwithstanding, of course, Virginia Tech, the best team in the DMV, landed in the Tuscaloosa region with Alabama, who scored as the 15 seed. But also, Virginia Tech gets Belmont in their first game, which means they get matched up with friend of the show and arguably the best pitcher in college softball, and maybe it's not even arguable at this point, in Maya Johnson. So that's going to be a very intriguing group for me. I think there are probably arguments for three of these teams, Alabama, Virginia Tech, and Belmont, to potentially move on here. Of course, the consolation prize is that they'll likely have to face Oklahoma in the super regional. So that's a pretty rough draw there. I'm going to refrain from talking about all of the DMV schools because I would like to save something for my show on Saturday. Let's whine about DMV sports. But I will go to my other homer pick, which of course is my alma mater, Florida State, getting the 5 seed and hosting their own Tallahassee regional. And I would say a pretty favorable draw. None of those teams greatly scare me. They have Auburn, South Florida, and Robert Morris. Auburn, of course, is a pretty good team coming out of the SEC, but I think that's a very winnable regional for them. And then they would get the winner of the Lubbock region, which would be one of Texas Tech, Washington, Mississippi State, and Brown. It'd be very interesting if Brown made it out of that regional. But either way, I think it's a favorable road for Florida State there in the regional round. And then whoever they would face in the super regional, I think could be a favorable matchup as well. So I really like Florida State's potential road here to the Women's College World Series. And of course, those games are going to start on the 16th. So they're starting on Friday. So they'll play all through the weekend, and that'll give us plenty to review and discuss next Tuesday on our next show here. We, of course, have to cut over to baseball really quick. Not as exciting right now. Their tournaments aren't for another couple of weeks here, but there are still some fun, exciting things happening in the college baseball world. So, Alden, we will start with you, sir. Who is your highlight for college baseball?
Yeah, so I'm going to go over to and show some love to Duke, who actually jumped all the way into 20th in the rankings after not being ranked at all the previous time. And a big reason for them being ranked is because they upsetted Clemson, who was ranked 9th, and they took 2 games out of 3, scoring, and a lot of them were shootouts too. So the pitching still a bit of a concern, but we'll see how they end their season against Georgia Tech, which is who they play last to end the season for the 3-game series there. They also have 1 game against Liberty as well. But as a team, they're, the batting average isn't the highest, but they have guys who can put the ball in play and drive in runs. They're not the biggest home run hitting team, but to upset Clemson like that, jump into the rankings right before the tournament start, gives them a good boost. And they, assuming they win against Georgia Tech, see if they could jump a little bit higher in the rankings. But I think it was pretty impressive. They were able to go all the way to 20. So just by beating Clemson too, and they have won recently as well in their last 5 games as well. So they actually are currently taking on Liberty today, and then that's when they start their 3-game series against Georgia Tech. So we'll see how their season finishes. But I like how Duke jumped into the rankings after upsetting Clemson, and I think they deserved it after how hard they had to compete in that series and the games that they played against Clemson. In all of those games, both teams scored at least 5 runs, except for the last game. So a lot of runs scored in that game. The pitching, we'll see if they can gain some or get a little bit better right before the tournaments. But overall, pretty good, impressive upset for Duke to jump into the rankings like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Great work there by the Blue Devils. I would like it if they could leave a couple of sports alone, not be good at so many sports, but it is what it is. Alden or Ricky, let's kick it over to you, sir. Who do you have in the world of college baseball?
So unfortunately, we don't have any big Tuesday ranked versus ranked like we usually do. But again, this is the last full week of the regular season. We got conference tournaments next week. There, Louisville's trying to avoid a really bad upset sign against Bellarmine. They're down 10-9 in the bottom of the 8th. It was like 10-5 a little bit ago. So maybe Louisville's mounting a comeback. I'm going to go to the mid-major route for mine this week. We're looking at some series. And Northeastern, I think, is one. Northeastern, Mike Glavin's the manager there. They usually have a really good program. They're ranked out of the Colonial Athletic. And it's a team to keep an eye on when you're looking at your bracket. You're trying to figure out who's in your region. Northeastern might be tricky. They're pitching this season as a 2.99 ERA as of a couple days ago. 15 shutouts in 50 games. They didn't get a shutout tonight, but they beat Connecticut 7-1. Max Gitlin got the win. He's 8-1 with a 2.49, and he's not even their best pitcher. They have 3 of the top 4 in their conference in ERA: Will Jones, Avon Cabral, and Jordan Gotterman. So 3 pitchers top 4 in ERA. That's a really strong staff. So you're looking at that bracket. Northeastern is going to be a really fun team to look at. Also, the Ivy League tournament gets underway this week. Harvard's taking on Yale on Friday. Jack Oman for Yale is a fun story. He's a freshman, and he's 7-0 with a 1.52. So, I mean, I know it's the Ivy League. I know it's not one thing we look at, but if Yale makes it, you got a freshman with a 1.52. Imagine what your other starters look like. So, always fun to give the mid-majors some love this week. And I know Mike is going to be watching that epic battle in Tallahassee with North Carolina and Florida State this weekend.
100%. Florida State's a hot team too. They maintain their number 2 ranking in the country with their series win over Cal, I believe it was this past weekend. I am going over to a team that I did not know this actually until I just looked at the schedule, who also recently upset Clemson, and that would be Coastal Carolina, who actually did beat Clemson last Tuesday 5-3. They have jumped up to 11 in the rankings. They have won 11 in a row, and they have 11 losses. So the theme of the day is 11 for them. But yeah, very good, very strong performance for them this season. They have a very balanced approach. They have a team ERA of 3.38. They have 3 really good starters in Jacob Morrison, Cameron Fluke, and Riley Eckhoff. All 3 have sub 3.4 ERAs and 1.1 or better WHIPs. So that's great come tournament time when you're going to need to roll out a quality starter every day. It's good to not have a hole in that. They also have a really balanced lineup. They score about 7 runs a game. which is great when the pitching's only giving up about 3.5. That's usually a pretty good ratio. They have several guys with OPSs in the 800s, 900s, batting averages. They can feature a whole lineup of guys batting 270 or better. So really a team that does not necessarily have one guy who is leading the way, although there's Jacob Morrison's having a very good season pitching. He is 9-0 with a 1.84 ERA. But a team that has multiple contributors and balance all throughout, and they can, scrap with, okay, and we've seen it in their schedule, they can scrap with some of the best teams, given that they went toe-to-toe, actually twice with Clemson. Looking at their schedule, they beat Clemson twice, and, had some other really good wins as well. So with that, we have come to our Around the Diamond segment, where we just talk about whatever's burning on our minds at the moment. So Ricky, we are going to start it off with you. Take us around the diamond, sir.
All right, so we got to do something for our network, iSports Radio's 11-year anniversary. So happy anniversary to IE Sports Radio. So I thought it would be good fun because we like to do this with the NFL. Let's look at the MLB draft from 2013. Of course, this is the famous Mark Appel first pick. And Mark Appel, unfortunately, never panned out the way he was supposed to pan out, but did actually have that comeback and got to get to the major. So it was good for him, but not the number one pick that we kind of hoped for. Just look at the first round because we can go chapter and verse because all these crazy rounds. Some famous first round picks: Austin Meadows, of course, 9th to the Pirates, famous for the Chris Archer trade. J.P. Crawford with the Phillies, who's now in Seattle. Marco Gonzalez was actually the 19th pick in that draft, and Gonzalez had a good pro career at the Mariners, so I'd say that's a pretty decent pick. Hunter Renfroe was 13th. The famous thing, though, when you look at this draft, Ryan Stanek, 29th to the Rays. Chris Bryant was 2, of course. Jonathan Gray, 3. But the Yankees had 3 picks in 2013. One of them was, and it wasn't even their top pick, was Fresno State outfielder Aaron Judge, sandwiched between Eric Jagielo and Ian Clarkin. So Jagielo and Clarkin got them major league pieces that helped them down the road. Jagielo was in the Chapman deal. Clarkin, I think, was in the Robertson-Frazier deal years ago. But the fact that Aaron Judge was the second of 3 Yankees first-rounders, you never see the Yankees get 3 first-rounders anymore. So I think it was a nice look back in time at the 2013 draft. Not a lot of great names, but some names that you might remember.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, naturally, it had to be Aaron Judge in that one, right? It couldn't be anybody else. But Chris Bryant, Chris Bryant, hey, he was a key piece in that Cubs team, right? That went on to end the curse. So, shout out to that as well. Great pick there. Alden, let's kick it over to you, sir. What do you have for us?
Surprised no one brought this up yet, but it was reported earlier that Paul Skeens will be representing Team USA in 2026. So Team USA finally has their what should be ace pitcher, because it feels like pitching has been the issue for Team USA, at least in the last World Baseball Classic, that is. I mean, when you have Yamamoto against Merrill Kelly in the finals, it's like, what? So it's good to see that they finally have an ace-worthy pitcher who can actually have a chance to win it all for Team USA. And Paul Skeens talked about how when DeRosa approached him, it was almost like he was trying to convince him. And then Paul Skeens was just already into it. He said, "Yep, let's get to work. We're gonna win it all in 26." So it's good to see that Team USA is finally going to get a good pitcher, at least for this upcoming World Baseball Classic, especially with all the other teams who have good pitching as well. They're really going to need it. And of course, with the hitting power that they have on their teams, it's always going to be good. So I did like that they're going to have Paul Skeens in 26. So that was pretty fun to see.
Absolutely, 100%. And it's such a logical choice too. I mean, you've got this great young pitcher coming up the ranks. I mean, absolutely, of course, he would be the logical choice to be the USA pitcher, not only for now but for the foreseeable future, I would imagine as well. I'm going to stick with the homer route here. I'm going to stay in Baltimore. big positive movement. I know that's been shocking for the Orioles, especially over the past month, if you were to exclude the first couple weeks of the season. But Zach Eflin, returning from injury, he made his first start since getting knocked out about a month ago, yesterday, 2 days ago against the Angels, and got the victory. The team is now 4-0 in games where he starts. So if you do the math on their current record, that's 11-24 in other games. Very positive move. The move pushes Charlie Morton, who had been the weak point in a weak rotation, to the bullpen as an innings-eating reliever, which they had kind of transitioned him to anyways. And he actually has had a couple of productive appearances as a long reliever for the team. He actually ate 2 innings in their one loss to the Angels, which saved the rest of the bullpen to be available for the game on Sunday. So that's good to see. One healthy piece getting back. It was one of the key pieces. Now they just need probably about 4 or 5 more things to start going their way consistently before they can start winning some baseball games. But Ricky did bring up a good point in that it is the 11-year anniversary of IE Sports Radio. So shout out to the network. Shout out to everybody who's been with us along the way. Shout out to the oldies, which I think I probably constitute as one at this point. And shout out to the newbies, if I were to categorize my 2 co-hosts, relatively speaking, as newbies. But, we've grown so much in the last 11 years. We continue to grow, and we thank all of you listeners that listen in to all of our shows for your support, whether it's live or if you listen later on in the week. We really do greatly appreciate it. And here's to another 11 years. Let's keep it going for sure. That will do it for tonight's show. Thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you to Ralph and Brian, who jumped into the chat room. Brian Francione jumped in a little bit later on to say good evening. Good evening to you as well, sir. Once again, shout out to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Go to planetjerky.net to get yours today. Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but promotes and donates to mental health research. So go to their website, use code IESR to get 50% off of their gym wear. Seal the Deal Wax Pants, custom wax pants for any special occasion. Check them out on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax pants. Be sure to follow IE Sports Radio on all social media platforms, X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at IE Sports Radio. Also, check out the website, iesportsradio.com. There you will find our blog, our merchandise, our Hall of Fame, our show pages, and so much more. And if you have not done so already, please follow us on X. If you are a fan of the show, follow at BP Bulletin _IESR. You can follow Ricky at Rickinator555. We'll be talking baseball, but of course, a whole bunch of New York sports as well. Follow Alden at DAZTRL, who baseball and of course all the Arizona sports. And follow yours truly at Let'sFly_IESR for some great baseball and DMP coverage. We'll be back next week to talk more baseball through and through. I'm sure there'll be more fun headlines. Hopefully not more manager firing. Let's maybe cool that for a little bit. But, great series to watch. College softball, obviously, in their tournament. College baseball will be right on the brink of their tournament as well. So lots of great stuff to talk about next week. For Alden K, Ricky K, and Mike Patt, thank you for tuning in to the Bullpen Bulletin here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.